My CEO wife and I came back to life together, but I don't feel any joy. The first thing I did after my rebirth was to leave her by any means possible. In this life, I'd rather die alone than see her again. In my previous life, I was seduced by her beauty and I married her without thinking twice. But after the wedding, I didn't experience a single day of her love. Instead, I had to endure the sarcasm of her true love. Then you even compare yourself to me. You don't even bother to check yourself. Look in the mirror and see who you are. So after coming back to life, made a deal with her true love. Every time I bring them together, he pays me. My wife invites me to the movies. I give the tickets to her true love. My wife wants to have dinner at home. I deliberately lock the door so that she is forced to stay at her true love's place. My wife is being transferred to Berlin for work. She can only take one family member with her. Without hesitating, I gave this opportunity to her true love. So when my wife comes home, she discovers that her husband hates her and that I am tormenting her. Intentionally, she even forgot our wedding anniversary because she was with her true love. I didn't complain. Instead, I applied to study abroad. My plan is to come back after my studies and dedicate the rest of my life to my country. Her friends make fun of her saying that she and her true love make a perfect couple. I didn't deny it. On the contrary, I made the decision to file for divorce first to make them happy. Now, no matter where she goes or what she does, I just hope the divorce will be proved and that I could escape this stupid three-way relationship the next day. I went to the civil registry office alone. Hello, comrade. I want to apply for a forced divorce. I took out of my bag the documents I had prepared a long time ago and handed them to the clerk. He carefully checked all the paperwork, then looked at me seriously and said, "Comrade, we have received your application. If you don't withdraw it within a 1-month deadline, forced divorce will be officially granted." I nodded and said thank you. I grabbed my bag and walked out. Night was falling. The sun was slowly setting, leaving behind a magnificent twilight. Light breeze was blowing, which had significantly cooled down the heat. People were leaving the factory in groups of 3 or 5 on their Phoenix brand bicycles and passing right by me. Nobody could ever imagine that. I was someone who had already been reborn. In my previous life, Bing Bing and I loved each other. We got married and afterwards, we moved into the family residence. After the wedding, she was very busy. Every time she finished her work, she would rush back home to have dinner with me. For our anniversaries, for my birthday, she always prepared gifts and surprises. The money she gave me every month was also a considerable amount, which made the entire community jealous of us. Everyone said that I had found a great wife. Everyone envied our relationship, but only I knew there was always a third wheel in our world. Jibauda, the younger brother of Bing Bing's best friend. On my birthday, she stood me up to go shopping with Jibauda when I was sick. She left me to take care of Jibauda because he was scared of thunder. When I had a stomachache, she abandoned me to worry about Jibauda, who was feeling depressed. When the 3 of us dined together, she would order spicy dishes that Jibauda loved, completely forgetting that my stomach was hurting and that I couldn't eat spicy food. When the 3 of us went hiking in the mountain, Jibauda lost his balance and dragged me down with him. I scraped my hand badly, but she immediately helped Jibauda down, and I went to the hospital alone in the middle of the night. There were so many things like that. It's not that I wasn't jealous or that I didn't complain. I was even ready to give half of our family money so that Jibauda wouldn't have any financial issues, as long as Bing Bing stayed away from him. Yeah, but her excuse was always the same. I only think of him as a brother. Yes, his sister saved my life. Now she's dead, leaving him alone. He can only count on me. Don't be irrational. Yes, that's what she would say. Yeah, but every time Jibauda looked at her, you could clearly see the love in his eyes. I spent my entire past life like that, constantly fighting, constantly arguing. In this life, I don't want to be trapped in this 3-way relationship anymore. That's why as soon as I was reborn, I decided to put a definitive end to this marriage. If Bing Bing finds out that I want a divorce, she will never sign the papers. That's why I came here to apply for a forced divorce, because a unilateral application is enough. Once the divorce is granted, I'll be free. I'll leave this place. I'll live the life I want, and I'll never give my life to that woman ever again. But just as I reached the courtyard gate, I stopped dead in my tracks. After the wedding, Bing Bing forced me to resign. Now I have 0 income, making it hard to secure my future. And I don't even have enough cash to buy a ticket to go far away. Even though Bing Bing gave me money, I have to account to her for every single cent and justify the reason. If I suddenly spent a large amount, she would definitely become suspicious. What if she starts doubting where the money will come from? After thinking it over for a long time, I made a bold decision. I'm going to cooperate with Bauda, the guy who has always loved her, and with my own hands, I'll push Bing Bing towards him. So I went to Bauda's door and, without wasting any time on small talk, cut straight to the chase. Bauda, I want to propose a deal. I know you like Bing Bing. Starting today, from this day on, I will do everything I can so that the 2 of you get some alone time. And when that's done, you'll give me some cash. Within a month, I'll have completely disappeared from her life. Bauda looked at me, dumbfounded. It took him a moment to pull himself together. Chen, what kind of nonsense are you talking about? How could I possibly like Bing Bing? I let out a cold little laugh. Whether it's a joke or not, you know it very well. Seeing me so serious, Bauda finally started reading me. Fine, I like Bing Bing alright. Yeah, but why should I trust you? No, my expression was totally unreadable. Yeah, I'll find a way to prove it to you. No, tonight she'll come to your place, yeah? Just make sure you prepare a few of her favorite dishes. After saying that, I left without even glancing at his expression. Yeah, so as soon as I opened the front door of my house, the housekeeper immediately came out, took my bag and asked me, "Sir, what should I prepare for dinner tonight?" I looked at the clock hanging on the wall. So tonight, prepare something light, just for one person. At 9:00, the clock chimed right on time. At that exact moment, someone opened the door and walked in. I was in the middle of eating. Hearing the noise, I looked up and saw Bing Bing walking toward me. She took off her coat and handed it to the housekeeper standing nearby. The moment her eyes landed on the table, where there were only bland dishes, complete opposite of her taste, she froze. Why is dinner so light today? Before, this kind of dish would never have been served at this table. And if by mistake it did happen, I would have immediately whipped up some spicy dishes for her. But this time I didn't budge an inch. With a completely blank expression, I said, "I haven't had much of an appetite lately, so I felt like eating light." With that, I picked up my chopsticks and started eating alone. Then, as if I had just remembered something, I looked at her again. "Baoda already prepared food. Why don't you head over there?" She stood there speechless for a moment, frowning slightly. "You've never liked me spending time with him." Bitter irony welled up in my heart. That meant she had always known I didn't like her seeing Baoda. Yet every single time she still abandoned me to go find him. I looked up and cracked a slight smile. "You always said you only see him as a little brother and that he's more considerate. So now, I'm learning to be a bit more considerate too." Tone was perfectly gentle, but for some reason, a strange bitterness invaded Bing Bing's heart. Still faced with my repeated insistence, she ended up leaving. I watched her in silence, put on her coat and walk out. Then I walked over to the living room window and looked in the direction of Baoda's house. The moment the lights turned on over there, I stood up and called the housekeeper. I let her clear the table, then locked the door. Slowly, all the lights in the residence went out. On the other side, as soon as she arrived, Baoda's eyes lit up. Immediately, came to welcome her, asked how she was doing and took her coat. On the table, there were only spicy dishes, all of her favorites. Bing Bing instantly felt like something was off. She wanted to ask a question, but the words of Baoda kept interrupting her. This dinner lasted much longer than usual. When she finally stood up and returned to the residence, under the slightly disappointed gaze of Baoda, she saw that her house was plunged into complete darkness. She frowned, knocked hard on the door and called my name several times, but no sound came from inside. She tried to open the door and discovered that it was locked from the inside. "What is wrong with you?" She pushed with all her might. She banged on the door for a long time, but got no answer. Finally, having nowhere else to go, she went back to Baoda's. As soon as Baoda learned that I had locked the door, his heart started beating faster. The joy that was about to show on his lips, he suppressed it with difficulty. Putting on a worried look, he said, "It's nothing. Bing Bing, in a situation like this, stay at my place tonight." Bing Bing with a cold voice massaged her temples. "Tonight I'll be troubling you. I'll sleep in the living room. I won't go anywhere else." Very early the next morning, as soon as I opened the door, I saw her sitting on the couch downstairs. On her coat, there were still a few drops of dew. She had probably just arrived. I went downstairs quietly. The moment she heard a sound, she looked up at me. "Why did you lock the door last night?" I sat down at the table, and while quietly eating my bowl of oatmeal, I replied, "There have been a lot of thieves lately, so I've gotten into the habit of locking the door. Forgot you went to Baoda's. My bad." Hearing that, Bing Bing didn't question it any further. She pulled a movie ticket out of her pocket that one of the security guards had bought for her. "Work is really crazy right now, and it's been a long time since we've spent any quality time together. As soon as I'm done, I'll send someone to pick you up." I nodded, but I barely even touched the ticket. After breakfast, Bing Bing changed her clothes and left. As soon as her car disappeared, I relaxed, put down my chopsticks, and got lost in my thoughts while staring at the movie ticket on the table. In my previous life, we were married for 5 years. She never once sat next to me to watch a full movie. Every single time, she would get up right in the middle to run back to Baoda. This time either, I had absolutely no desire to see a movie with her. But why waste this ticket? With that thought, I took the ticket and headed over to Baoda's place. When he opened the door, he couldn't hide the joy in his eyes. "Do you believe me now?" "Yeah, what I told you last night." He still had a few doubts, but the sweetness from the night before had already half fried his brain. Yeah, he didn't get the real motive, but he wasn't the type to miss out on an opportunity. He nodded and handed me some cash. With a slight mischievous smile, I took the money and pulled out of my pocket the movie ticket that I handed to him. "Here you go with her. Today you have to impress her." After saying that, I turned around. In the evening, instead of going to the movies, I stayed at home, lying down and resting. I slept for a bit, then read for a bit. It was very peaceful. As the night grew deeper, I was about to fold the newspaper to go upstairs when she walked in. Her slight frown betrayed her displeasure. Why hadn't I come today? I paused while folding the newspaper. "Are you not feeling well today?" She immediately reached out her hand to touch my forehead. "Let's go to the hospital." "There's no need." Just then a shrill broke the silence. So before I could get up, Bing Bing picked up the phone. was right next to her, so I clearly heard what was being said. On the other end of the line, they were talking about the civil registry office, meaning the marriage registration office. My fingers tightened on the newspaper I was holding. My breath caught in my throat. I don't know how much time passed. As soon as she hung up, she turned to me. It was the marriage registration office. They say some information is missing. I didn't say anything, lowering my eyes. We got married so fast, some paperwork must be missing. Some documents must be incomplete. I'll go sort it out. Everything else is in order. There won't be any delay. Bing as she nodded. She didn't try to look into it any further. Then she went to get ready. On her way out, she seemed to remember something. She pulled an invitation out of her pocket. Ah, that's right. His sister's birthday party is the day after tomorrow. Come with me. This time I couldn't refuse, so I nodded. The day of the birthday party, in the reception hall, men and women dressed in gorgeous outfits were dancing to the sound of the music. Bing wanted to invite me to dance, but I didn't want to. I told her I don't feel very well right now. You go dance with Jibauda. Poor guy came all by himself. The music started playing again. Seeing my melancholic expression, Bing reluctantly turned toward Jibauda. He took her hand and smiled, while the expression on Bing was completely icy. They started dancing together. The crowd began to whisper, isn't Bing married? Yeah, why is she dancing with another man? And that guy over there, he knows she's married. So why is he smiling like that? No, my husband and I are legitimate. Husband, I was standing at a distance, watching the scene in silence. There were a lot of people, a lot of noise, and the drinks were flowing freely. Bing couldn't escape it either, one glass after another. And finally, she ended up completely drunk. Her slender fingers were massaged her temples and she called out my name. But I didn't rush over to catch her like I would have done before. I just threw a glance. Jibauda rushed toward her with a smile. She supported her. The three of us got into the same car, me in the front seat, leaving them the room in the back. Jibauda quickly settled Bing in the back. Bing was a bit drunk, but she still felt that something was wrong, as if she understood that I had changed. Lately, this change was eating at her from the inside. She was about to say something, and suddenly there was a violent jolt. The car broke down in the middle of the road, narrowly missing hitting someone. Bing's drunkenness vanished all at once. She immediately turned to check if the man sitting next to her was hurt. Seeing that Jibauda was fine, she let out a long surge of relief. But as soon as she looked up, her eyes locked right into mine. The reflection of Jibauda in the rearview mirror. Her lips moved, as if she wanted to say something, but I deliberately looked away. The sky grew dark and the rain poured down relentlessly, getting harder and harder. Many people, sheltered under their umbrellas, were standing by the roadside waiting for another car. An icy wind was blowing, and I couldn't help but shiver slightly. Seeing this, Bing sitting next to me immediately grabbed a jacket to cover me with. But at that exact moment, Jibauda sneezed 3 times in a row. The jacket remained suspended in midair. Seeing her hesitant, look, my lips curled up on their own. Jibauda needs it more. Give it to him first. The jacket, still a bit warm with her body heat, was finally placed on the shoulders of Jibauda, whose ears turned red. Just then, a car honked from across the street. The driver rolled down the window and asked the people on the sidewalk what had happened. I quickly helped a few people get in, but the problem was there were only 2 seats left. This time, Bing looked at us without thinking, as if she wanted Jibauda and me to get in first. But Jibauda clutched the corner of her clothes. Big sister Bing, stay with me, I'm scared. I laughed internally. Scared of a simple little car ride. I laughed, but my face remained deadpan. I looked Bing straight in the eyes. Bing, take her. You've been drinking too, and alcohol combined with the pouring rain is a bad mix. With that, without giving her time to answer, I pushed them both into the car. Watching it drive away, I looked away. I immediately hailed another car. I didn't go back home. Yeah, I went straight to the civil registry office. The next morning, barely had I opened the front door when someone rushed right toward me. Yeah, I looked up, straight into Bing's eyes. Why didn't you come home last night? Yeah, where were you last night? I replied in a cold tone. Last night, it was pouring rain. I stayed at a friend's house. In reality, I had gone to the civil registry office to fill out some paperwork. Time flew, and when I was finished, there was no more public transportation. So I stayed at a cheap hotel. She inspected me from head to toe. When she was absolutely certain that I was fine, she let out a surge of relief and stepped aside to let me in. Mom and Dad are here. As soon as she said that, my hand froze in midair. I looked directly toward the living room. They were there, both of them sitting down, hearing my voice. I got up and walked over. After brief greetings, her mother took my hand and dragged me toward the couch. The entire way she wouldn't stop, asking me how I was doing. Since our wedding, her parents came over often, but not out of affection. They only came for one thing: pressure us into having a child. But a child, that's not something that happens on command. I glanced at Bing, who was standing nearby. Her face was totally expressionless, but in her eyes, there was a glimmer of hope. She wanted a child too. If this had been my past life, maybe I would have wanted one too. Several children who would look like us. But now, after my rebirth, I had changed my mind, yeah. Seeing my long silence, His father turned toward his daughter. So, do you two intend to have a child or not? She started, then looked at me. She probably thought shyness kept me silent. So she nodded with a slight smile. Yes, we want to. But we shouldn't rush things, yeah. It has to happen naturally. Seeing us dodge the question, her parents exchanged a look. They understood each other. It was time to execute their plan. At dinner, his father brought a very special soup and served it into our bowls with a smile. Under his mother's insistent gaze, I downed the soup in one gulp. After dinner, her parents didn't stay long and left by car. Barely had they gone. We went to lie down in the bedroom. But a few minutes later, a sudden wave of heat washed over me. The whole room felt suffocating. I mechanically unbuttoned my shirt. Looking over at her, I saw that Bingbing's face was flushed as well. She was nervously tugging at her dress. The moment our eyes met, the exact same thought crossed our minds. There was a problem with the soup. I was about to get up when she jumped on me, pinning me to the bed. As her fingers approached my belt, I pushed her away. Violently. She wasn't expecting it at all. Her eyes widened in shock. Quick, go into that. I left on my end. Bingbing was coming out of the bath, drying her hair after her shower. The dim light was turned off. Only a faint silhouette was visible lying on the bed. Without thinking, she approached. Once again, she pinned the man beneath her. Her hands were even bolder. Just as she was about to kiss the man's Adam's apple, a faint groan escaped from them. First there were the lips. The man, startled awake from a deep sleep, abruptly sat up and pushed her away. He turned on the light. The harsh glare flooded the room. The woman was dumbfounded. Ibauda for a second didn't understand anything. He didn't think he would get caught. His face lost all color, and he couldn't even squeeze out a single word. The next second, a faint groan escaped from the woman's mouth. She still wasn't out of it. He completely regained his senses nearby, grabbed his jacket, and ran away terrified. In the morning, Bingbing, with her hand on the back of her neck, came downstairs. What happened last night? Was Ibauda in my room? No. Yesterday, I swallowed the last bite of my porridge. I asked, who? Last night, you took your shower and went to sleep. Nobody came into your room. She found it a bit strange, sensing that something was off, but she couldn't remember anything about what had happened that night, so she didn't ask any more questions. After all, how could she have ever imagined that in the middle of the night, it was me who had brought Ibauda into her room, pushing her toward him step by step. Bingbing's work became so hectic that I didn't get the chance to bring them together again. Then suddenly, Bingbing was transferred to Berlin. However, the transfer notice only allowed her to bring a single family member along. She looked at the envelope and paused for a moment. Before, she would have taken me without hesitating. But now, the equation had changed with Ibauda in the picture. She remembered the final words of his dying sister. Take care of him. The envelope crumpled in her hands. She came home and with great difficulty, she said, I've been transferred to Berlin. The organization will offer a job at the TV station to one member of my family, but I can only bring one person. Yeah, her voice faded away bit by bit, becoming almost inaudible. I instantly understood what she was trying to say. Ibauda is all alone, there's no one to take care of him. Yeah, I want to take him to Berlin first, and you can come later, okay? Yeah, I agreed on the spot, maybe a bit too quickly because Bingbing remained silent for a moment. The surprise in her eyes was obvious. You accept that easily. I looked at her. Did you want me to refuse? If I had made a scene, would you have stayed these? Words got stuck in her throat. The answer was obvious no, because as soon as the transfer order arrived, she had already decided to take Ibauda with her. Nobody could have stopped her. She took my hand and said, Chen, you've endured a lot. I promise that in the future, I'll make it up to you. My face was deadpan but inside. I laughed a cold laugh. Our future. It was already over. Since the transfer was sudden, the whole compound threw a farewell party for Bingbing. 6-9 in the middle of the party. I was sitting in a corner, watching them in silence. Bingbing and Ibauda, both surrounded by the crowd, were knocking back one drink after another. The woman's cheeks were getting pinker and the man's gaze was blurring. As people came over to toast with them, Ibauda lost control and slumped onto Bingbing. Maybe she felt my gaze because she immediately pushed Ibauda away and told security to take care of him. She was about to come toward me when, suddenly from the walls, a terrifying crack spread from top to bottom. It was as if the earth itself was roaring. Every single face turned pale instantly. Everything collapsed. Bingbing ran in my direction, but at that exact moment, behind her, Ibauda's scream rang out. She froze right where she stood. In that single second of hesitation, the entire building caved in. Countless people were buried alive. I don't know how much time had passed when I opened my eyes again. I felt my body completely crushed under heavy beams. In the darkness, aside from faint sobbing, I could only hear the beating of my own heart. I opened my mouth to call for help, but the panic was so intense that no sound could come out. I don't know how much time went by, when suddenly above me, the sound of a drill could be heard, followed by a rescuer's shout, "We found someone." Above my head, the debris was cleared away and suddenly, a bright light forced me to close my eyes. But once the situation underneath became clear, even the rescuers paused, because I wasn't the only one trapped. On the other side, Ibauda was also pinned down. The situation was extremely critical, and at any moment, a second shock, an aftershock could hit. Who should be saved first? Bingbing looked at the two of us, trapped underneath. Her face was stark white, my heart tightened. Obviously, she had to save her husband first. Please save me first. I'm scared. Bingbing, don't abandon me. Then a second shock occurred, pushing both of us even deeper. If you keep hesitating, neither of us will make it out. Bingbing, you promised my sister you'd look after me. His scream was so full of pain that it was heartbreaking. Bingbing's gaze suddenly hardened. She said without the slightest hesitation, save Jibauda first. This choice dumbfounded everyone, like nobody expected her to ignore. Your own husband. Order saving another man first. I opened my eyes in shock. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. You already abandoned me for Jibauda. And now, while our lives are on the line, you drop me again. My voice shook, but before I could finish, another painful cry from Jibauda rang out. It hurt so much. Please, please save me. At those words, Bingbing no longer hesitated and ordered, get Jibauda out immediately. The cold steel teeth bit into the debris, throwing up dust and stone shards. The din was deafening, the air saturated with the smell of earth. Right at that moment, another shock hit. My body shook violently. I wanted to move, I wanted to flee, but my body was paralyzed. And just at that moment, Bingbing cut the final obstruction and pulled Jibauda out of the rubble. Almost immediately, with a deafening crash, the rest of the building collapsed. Me, who had half of my body out. I was buried in darkness once again. Right before passing out, Bingbing's face, twisted in terror, was the last image burned into my memory. When I regained consciousness, an intense pain racked my entire body. With difficulty, I opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was the white ceiling of a hospital. Yo-chin, you're awake. I turned my head. It was Bingbing. Her eyes were red, clear proof that she had been crying. She had been taking care of me for several days, but the moment I saw her, the memory of the earthquake resurfaced in my mind. That moment when she abandoned me to choose Jibauda, I turned my head away and closed my eyes. Silence filled the room. Bingbing saw my state. She clenched her fist, then loosened it. She knew that her words no longer held any value to me. She said softly, get some good rest. I'm going to see Jibauda. The door closed. Over the following days, consumed by guilt, she mostly stayed by my side. I couldn't care less about where she went. On his end, Jibauda was restless. Ye-chin, what is the meaning of this? We agreed that you would leave her, that you would give us some time just for ourselves. So why are you always hanging around her? Are you doing this just to piss me off? No. I saw the anger in his eyes. I remained silent for a moment. Then I pulled out from my bag a brand new divorce certificate and handed it to him. I left her a long time ago. I wasn't playing games with you. I've already gotten a divorce. Jibauda's eyes widened in surprise. I thought it was just empty talk. He never would have imagined that I would actually do it, that I would divorce her for real. Just then, the hospital room door opened. Bingbing saw the divorce certificate in my hand. What is that in your hand? He approached me, but Jibauda jumped up and stood in the way. So, where have you been? I have something important to tell you. He grabbed her and dragged her out of the room. Once the door was closed, I could finally let out a sigh of relief. On the day of my discharge, I received from Jibauda the final payment. I don't know why you suddenly asked for a divorce, but I hope you keep your promise and get out of our lives for good, Jibauda. I gathered all the money I had received from Jibauda and started packing my bag to go back home. Hello. Bingbing, seeing the pile of clothes in the bedroom, asked me in surprise, why did you take out all these clothes? Hello? I didn't even look at her. I simply bent down to pick up the clothes and in a calm voice, I said, the seasons are changing, so I'm bringing everything out to sort through it. A calm attitude suddenly sparked a strange fear inside her. Maybe she remembered her recent actions. She approached me, took my hand and said, stop packing. We're going to Berlin. I'll buy you new clothes. I was a bit taken aback. I didn't understand what she meant at first. This time I got permission from the organization. The organization authorized me to bring 2 people, so I can take Jibauda and you. Then she paused before continuing, but there's only one job opening at the TV station, and I'm giving it to Jibauda. I know you're angry because I didn't save you first during the earthquake, but I couldn't help it. I promised his sister that I would take care of Jibauda. I couldn't break my promise. Please don't be mad anymore, okay? Listening to her, I simply looked at her in silence. My heart was filled with nothing but bitterness and sarcasm. She really thought I was just a kid who was sulking, but by what right? Why should I even be angry? In my previous life, the exact same thing had happened. The same earthquake. The only difference was that Jibauda and I weren't trapped together. But even then, she had chosen to save Jibauda first. For half a month in the hospital, she didn't leave Jibauda's bedside, not taking even a single second to check up on me. During that time, Jibauda's friends came to see me and said, Jibauda hurt his hand and Bingbing was worried sick. She stayed by his side all night, without leaving for a single moment. Hearing that, I boiled with rage. I was hurt. Too, yet my wife was holding another man's hand and taking care of him. That jealousy gradually turned into anger, and that anger into resentment. We had a violent argument over the phone. I told her there's nothing between Jibauda and me, but if you want to keep thinking that I can't help it, After that, as soon as she was discharged from the hospital, she left for Berlin with Jibauda. Now I have nothing left. Whatever, now I am calmer than before. The irony is that now, she's the one asking the organization for permission, just for me to tag along. A slight glint of sarcasm flashed in my eyes, but I hid it. She guessed it anyway and became even more anxious, as if she were on the verge of losing something. She clung to me. Yes, Ye Chen, please come with us. If I had refused, she would have immediately become suspicious. To her, I'm still the same man who can't live without her. So I said, okay, let's go together. Barely had I spoken when she let out a long sigh of relief, and she didn't even notice what I added next. But our paths separated a long time. On the day of departure, I sat in silence in the car. Behind me, Jibauda's face instantly lost all color, but I didn't even deign to look at him. I just took my suitcase and got into the vehicle. As soon as the journey began, Jibauda started his usual drama. Like 1 minute he was saying, "Bing Bing, I twisted my foot. Help me get onto the train." The next minute he was saying, "It's a bit cold on the train. Bing Bing, sit close to me, or even I'm sleepy. Can I rest my head on Bing Bing's lap to sleep?" Yeah, every single time. Bing Bing would look at me, no doubt trying to read my reaction. But I had closed my eyes. Finally, having no choice, she started giving in to all of Jibauda's demands. The other passengers noticed too and said, "Hey young man, you're lucky. You have a very caring wife." Hearing that, Jibauda blushed and tried to lean in even closer. But Bing Bing immediately pulled back and said, "Don't misunderstand, we don't have that kind of relationship." Hearing these words, Jibauda froze, right? But the others thought she was just being shy. Come on, why is the young lady blushing? Please say it right, please. And if there's nothing between you, why do you take such good care of him? At those words, Bing Bing stood up and came to sit next to me. She said, "This is my husband. Hai is just a friend." The entire train car fell into an awkward silence. Jibauda looked at her, filled with resentment. The car swayed, the lights were dimmed, the reflections from the window casting over my face. I opened my eyes. My head bumped against the seat next to me with a thud. Hearing that sound, Bing Bing abruptly opened her eyes and reached out to touch my forehead. Pulling it back, her gaze fell upon the suitcase placed next to me, and she whispered to herself, "Why did you put the suitcase here? Come on, I'll put it in the overhead rack." Bing Bing was about to get up when I immediately grabbed the suitcase. "It's perfectly fine like this." Seeing the flat-out refusal on my face, she sat back down in silence. A heavy silence settled in for a while. Then Bing Bing got up and went to the restroom. On the other side, Jibauda, who was pretending to sleep, suddenly sat up straight and turned toward me saying, "Ye Chen, what is going on? Yeah, you said you didn't love Bing Bing, so why are you chasing after her now? I know very well that the jokes I made about you two are just jokes. Don't worry, I'll do whatever you want." Jibauda frowned and was getting ready to ask something else when a loud noise rang out behind us. We turned around at the same time. Here we go. A menacing-looking man was running with a knife. Jibauda and I were the closest to him. "Watch out!" Just as Bing Bing was coming out of the restroom, she saw the scene. Her face darkened and she immediately lunged at the thief, but he was already running toward us, knife in hand. In that split second, she could only save one of us. With a swift movement, I reached out and pulled Jibauda toward me, who had turned pale with fear. The next second, I wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The thief was subdued, but that's when he stabbed me. Bing Bing. Bing Bing gave him a violent kick, and the police officer arriving right behind her tackled the attacker. "Hey kid, put a tourniquet on your hand, quick." Bing Bing approached me, sheer panic written all over her face. "Are you okay?" The answer that rose to my throat got stuck right there. My left hand was bleeding profusely, but my gaze was perfectly calm. It was so calm that it seemed cold. The entire night, we stayed seated on the same row, separated only by a narrow aisle. She was tending to my wound, her voice unable to hide her fear. "Yo Chen, I'm sorry." I knew she wanted to say something else, but I cut her off. Bing Bing looked up, guilt written all over her gaze. When she saw that I didn't want to hear anything, she took a deep breath. "Ya Chen, when we arrive in Berlin, we will have a good life, okay? I'll buy you whatever you want." I just looked at her in silence. I didn't say anything. Then, closed my eyes and said I was tired. She fell silent as well, and gently placed a blanket over me. She thought that we still had plenty of time ahead of us. It was with this thought that she fell asleep, in the silence of the night. While the entire train car was asleep, I softly opened my eyes, took the luggage that was at my feet, and placed the divorce certificate in the hand of the one who was fast asleep. I looked at her, for a moment, my mind going blank. This face, I had seen it countless times. When I proposed to her, when she cried tears of joy on our wedding night, when she blushed with nervousness, when we argued because of Jibauda, and her face filled with cold reproach. For 5 years I had seen this face. For 5 years I had loved her. And now I will never see it again. The announcement for the station arrival rang out. Bing Bing stirred slightly, but didn't open her eyes. I didn't look at her either. I grabbed my bags and got off. The sound of my suitcase wheels echoed on the platform. I walked in the opposite direction of the train, without looking back even once. "Dear passengers, the train is entering Berlin station. Bingbing rubbed her eyes. She leaned down to pick something up, and at that exact moment she froze. The divorce certificate. Her mind went completely blank from the shock. Her hands were shaking. After several attempts, she managed to grab the paper. Unfolding it, she saw her own photo. Half of her face was stamped over by the official divorce seal. The pain shot through her eyes, stabbing her right in the heart. She stood up abruptly. The seat was empty. My things were gone. I was gone. Overcome by panic, she rushed outside looking for me everywhere. But it was already too late. Anger exploded inside her. She gripped the divorce certificate so tightly it looked like she was going to tear it apart. She understood. She understood that for a secret divorce like this, you have to file an application at the registry office a month in advance. That meant for an entire month. I had been quietly planning the divorce. From now on, she only had one option left, a forced divorce. But what exactly did I do wrong? She whispered into the void. I didn't say anything to him. I'm the one who's going to divorce him. Bingbing raised her head, her gaze lost looking toward the deserted platform. Bingbing bit her lips, confusion clearly written in her eyes. It was at that exact moment that Jibauda came out of the car. Bingbing, that's the divorce certificate. Since Yao Chen divorced you. And the discussion we were having, before he could even finish, Bingbing pushed him away. Comrade G, my duty to take care of you. And here, he froze right on the spot, an icy fear running through him from head to toe. In the past, Bingbing would have stepped forward to gently support him. But now, she simply looked at him from a distance, as if he were a stranger. Comrade G, I only took care of you to respect your sister's dying wish. I had to bring you to Berlin and find you a job. After that, there is no longer any connection between us. Her voice was becoming increasingly icy. Ibauda's face turned pale. No, it wasn't resentment. It was pure fear. For the first time, he realized just what a powerful person he had been clinging to. And now, he was slipping through his fingers. He suddenly threw himself at her, hugging her tightly from behind. No, I don't want to leave. Since you promised my sister, you have to take care of me. How can you just abandon me like this? No. Bingbing pushed him away and looked at him coldly. No, G Bauda, don't be too greedy. Do you dare to claim that by taking care of me all these years, you haven't developed even the slightest attachment? No, how could you really intend to leave me? All the memories from the day his sister died came flooding back to him. How she had held him in her arms. How she had gently consoled him. How during the dance, she had squeezed his hand. How in the car accident, she had become a shield, protecting him with her entire body. How during the earthquake and on the train, she had protected him at the risk of her life. Her gaze could deceive others, but not herself. How was it possible that she felt nothing? Bingbing gripped the divorce certificate tighter, crumpled, corner digging into her palm, but that pain helped her think more clearly. Wasn't love just a responsibility? Yes, if you had been even slightly injured. What would I have said to your sister? You don't love me. Then why were you so good to me? Why did you always take care of me yourself instead of sending someone else? Why? As if another memory came back to him. He looked Bingbing right in the eyes and said, do you want to get rid of me? Our marriage has already been consummated. Hearing that, it was as if the sky was falling on her head. Bingbing was shocked at first, and a flame of fury slowly ignited in her eyes. So what kind of nonsense are you spouting? She hissed through her teeth, approaching him. Jibauda's hand was shaking behind his back, yet he didn't back down in the face of her anger. That night, the soup you drank that night, we drank and made a promise to each other. Bingbing's steps stopped abruptly. She too remembered that night and my evasive excuse. How could anyone send another man into her own husband's bedroom? The rage of betrayal consumed her from head to toe before she could even utter a single word. The guard from the main gate came running over. Please, this way. Today, Bingbing swallowed her anger. She didn't cast a single glance at Jibauda and ordered immediately, take him back and cancel his position at the TV station. The moment the guards led him away, Jibauda collapsed to the ground. He stared at the pavement, knowing that he had only been allowed to stay temporarily. And the more he thought about it, the more resentment and hatred filled his heart. This is entirely Ye Chen's fault. If he hadn't left so suddenly, I wouldn't have had to do all this. The chief looked at Bingbing with concern, remembering her marital status, and said, Xiao Ye just arrived in Beijing. He's having a hard time adjusting. Yeah, you must take good care of Bingbing. She wanted to say something, but didn't know how to put her thoughts into words. The chief understood and said with a slight smile, Right, a fight with Xiao Ye though. It's not a fight. We got a divorce. Yeah, his smile vanished instantly. Upon learning the reason, his tone became disappointed. But what are you doing? You who are so good at making big decisions with absolute clarity. How can you be so clueless in love? Jibauda's sister saved your life. You should have taken care of her brother, but you could have delegated a huge part of all that. Why did you take so much upon yourself? The chief waved his hand. Go on, head down. Upon returning, the team of professionals gave their report for the day. Chen learned that the exact address of Bingbing in the province was confirmed. Yeah, finding someone was like looking for a needle in a haystack. The report from the hospital in Ibo confirmed that he was only faking it, but because of his identity, he had to be temporarily housed with the Bing family. Bingbing's face darkened more and more as she listened. finally completely exhausted. She closed her eyes. A dead silence settled in. Once again in the car, upon arriving at the house, she saw Jibauda sitting there, gripping the couch tightly, refusing to budge. Seeing her arrive, he jumped up and tried to hold her back, but she stepped aside quickly. I've said all I had to say. Now leave, please. No, my brother was just punished. I won't leave, no. If you didn't love me, why were you so nice to me? Why did you leave your husband to come get me? No, I helped you openly. My conscience is completely clear. No, yeah, if you faked it, you're the one who will suffer the consequences. For the first time, Bingbing looked at him with a serious glare, sad, cold, and ruthless, just like before. I'm going to give you some money so that you can live in Berlin and survive from now on. After that, there will be nothing left between us. After saying that, she stopped looking at the man, collapsed on the floor. She closed her bedroom door. A painful groan escaped from the man's throat. In front of me, seeing this strange scene, a glint of confusion flashed in my eyes. After getting off the train, I had hopped on the very first one available, without having the slightest clue where it was going. The train brought me all the way to Wuyang. The windows of the houses near the bridge were open. A woman with a pipa in hand, singing a sweet, unfamiliar melody. Her voice drifted through the air in a small boat. With a black canopy was cutting through, the river slowly moving away. A fine drizzle began to fall. I quickly raised a hand to protect my head, while holding my suitcase with the other. I took shelter under an awning. The raindrops pattered against the blue pavement, making a soft sound. The rain was gradually getting heavier. I couldn't help myself, and I stepped closer to the wooden door. But while backing up, I suddenly bumped into someone. By accident, I turned around. My gaze locked into her deep eyes. It was a woman dressed in a long silk robe, a slight smile on her lips. It's nothing. Come inside to take shelter. Lisa, this rain isn't going to stop anytime soon. Window. In the room near the window, the scent of tea was drifting. After changing my clothes, I sat down across from Lisa, grabbing the cup of hot tea she had offered me. Thanks, Lisa. She smiled, as if she remembered something. Thank you. So you came to Wuyang all alone? No, don't give up. It looks like you're not from around here. I nodded. I don't want to talk about the past. They aren't good memories. I'm just looking for a peaceful place where I can start a new life. Sitting across from me, she showed understanding. She didn't ask any other questions, simply asking, what are your plans? Even though Jibauda gave me more than 5,000, today that money would eventually run out. I had to find myself a job. But after 5 years of marriage with Bingbing, my old skills were completely rusty. What could I even do? She must have seen the confusion in my gaze, drumming her fingers on the table. She said, a friend is selling their tailor shop. It's right across the street. I'll show it to you when the rain stops. I was pleasantly surprised. As the rain stopped, Lisa closed her shop and guided me along the road, paved with blue stones. On the way, she told me about the villagers and their customs. The village was small, but the people were good, and there was no shortage of shops. However, tailor shops were rare. Her friend didn't want to sell, but his whole family was in Berlin, so he was forced to leave. As we walked, my mind suddenly drifted to Bingbing and Jibauda. I did a quick calculation. By 7 o'clock, they must have arrived in Berlin. Now that I am no longer in their way, their relationship is surely moving forward without obstacles. After a few minutes of walking, we arrived in front of a small 2-story building. After meeting Lisa's friend, I inspected the place. The discussion went well with Lisa's help. The deal was quickly closed. The entire following week, I was super busy. First transferring the property title, then getting familiar with the places listed in my notebook. Since my skills were still weak, I found an experienced master and started learning tailoring. I worked insanely hard, and the master was just as passionate about teaching. In less than a month, I mastered the trade. I made myself a new shirt to thank Lisa. I also made a dress for her, and I did surprise lit up her eyes, and then she smiled. I was a bit clumsy while nodding my head. After finishing all the work at the shop, I didn't have much money left after buying the fabric and the material, but to show her my gratitude, I made her a dress and also bought a box of pastries for which I had lined up early in the morning. The smell of the cakes was so intoxicating that it made one's mouth water. I love it, thank you. Glad you like it. I was worried you wouldn't. I let out a sigh of relief. As soon as the tailor shop opened, the local neighborhood folks watched from a distance. After all, I was the new tailor. If my work had been bad, they would have made fun of me. But within a few days, the little shop was packed with customers. Not only were my skills good, my designs were also fresh and attractive, and most importantly, I was friendly. So people really started to like me. One evening, just as I was about to close up the shop, after the departure of the last customer, a piercing voice suddenly rang out. Hey, Chin. My hand froze as I was closing the door, and I looked at the woman standing in front of me. She threw the garment she was holding onto the ground and screamed, everyone come look at this. It's definitely this shop. I spent a fortune to have this new dress made, and the fabric is so bad that it tore before I could even wear it. At that time, we had all already eaten dinner, and everyone was out for their evening walk. As soon as the drama started, the whole neighborhood gathered around, and when people saw that I was the target, whispers started spreading through the crowd. The murmurs of suspicion gradually grew. The woman's face darkened, but she refused to back down. She shouted, "You're taking advantage of the situation. Because I'm a woman, why? Would I lie at the expense of my own reputation? The fabric from his shop is so bad that it tears as soon as you wear it. Give me my money back." Saying this, she pushed forward 2 or 3 other women out of the crowd. They were also holding torn clothes. My eyes narrowed. Even the biggest idiot would have understood that this whole scene had been completely staged. I never could have owned so many dresses alone in a month, and besides, I make clothes for men, for women, for the elderly, and for children. So how is it possible that all the torn clothes belong only to 2 young women? I just cast a quick glance around me. That's when I spotted a man hiding in the crowd. Sakura. I am the owner of the shop next door. I was about to step forward when a slender and white hand stopped me. I turned around, it was Lisa. She gently shook her head to stop me. Then she stepped forward, picked up the garment from the ground and examined it carefully. "What proof do you have that this dress comes from this shop? I am..." Her icy voice made the woman take a step back, but she persisted stubborn. "What proof? This fabric and this design can only be found in his shop. If he didn't make it, who else did?" Lisa let out a mocking chuckle. "This design and this fabric can be found anywhere. It's not an exclusive. If he can make it, other shops can too." She examined the dress more closely, and that's when she found a small piece of fabric between the layers of the garment. Then she said, "Everyone who gets their clothes made by Yoshin knows it. Once the garment is finished, he always sews a small piece of fabric hidden at the back, on which he stamps his designer signature. That's alright, it's to avoid counterfeits. But not only did you not put the patch in the right place, but furthermore, the top stitching is poorly done." Hearing this, the woman turned pale. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She was speechless, and the crowd understood everything. All eyes turned toward her. Within a few seconds, people started pointing fingers at her. Finally, unable to handle the pressure anymore, the woman confessed who had pushed her to do it. The owner of the boutique of ready-to-wear next door. In reality, his business had never really taken off. I thought that if my tailor shop closed down, his life would improve. But not only did I reopen, but my business is doing even better than before. So he set up this dirty trick. But now that his plan had failed, it was his turn to end up in prison. As soon as the police took him away, the crowd cheered and celebrated. The other women took advantage of the chaos to slip away discreetly, but my face remained cold and dark. Lisa looked at me worriedly. "What's wrong?" I took a deep breath. "Right, what just happened? I made one thing very clear. If business goes well, jealousy follows. Today was a false accusation, but in the future, others will come, and their methods will be even more dangerous. Today I cast a glance at the old mansion with the wooden door in the distance. For a moment I hesitated, my heart wavered. When I arrived in this strange town, I was just looking for a job to survive. But as soon as the shop opened, all of this started. To be honest, I didn't know anymore whether I should keep going or not. That's when Lisa took me by the shoulder and said, "Calm down, you can't tarnish what is pure. This has happened to me before too. We can counter every single one of their moves. Let's first think about how to handle this." The following week, I deliberately kept the shop closed. Every day I brainstormed strategies with Lisa. When I finally reopened, there were even more customers than before. Seeing me working alone, Lisa recommended 2 lively and smart young girls for the job. That gave me a bit of relief. But barely had I caught my breath, that's when Lisa dropped another piece of news on me. She was leaving, she was going back to Berlin. That's when I discovered her true identity. She wasn't just a simple tea seller, but the granddaughter of a high-ranking official in Berlin, and basically, she had come here to recover from an illness. And now that she was doing better, she had to head back. Hearing that, a strange emptiness took over me. In this small town, she had been the very first person I saw. During the months that followed, she was the one who helped me. But now that we had become true friends, time to part ways had arrived. Seeing the sadness on my face, she too paused as if she wanted to say something. As if she wanted to suggest, "Let's go to Berlin together." But she remembered that I always avoided hearing the name of Berlin, as if a heavy past was waiting for me there. Ultimately, she suppressed that unrealistic idea right then and there. "Anyway, I'm leaving you my address. We can write letters to each other." Hearing that, I had to swallow all the pain I felt deep down inside. On the day Lisa left, the weather was the exact same as the day I first arrived. Here, a fine drizzle had started to fall. She gave me the key to the house of A and told me that as soon as I had a moment, I should go there and sit for a bit, just to keep the place alive. She added that maybe one day she would return. But we both knew that as the granddaughter of a high-ranking official, she wouldn't return so easily. I followed her car with my eyes until it disappeared, then I looked down. I didn't go straight to my tailor shop. Instead, I opened my umbrella and walked slowly down the bluestone path toward Lisa's tea house. Opening the door, my heart felt strangely heavy for a second when she was here. She always went in and out with a smile, right? My gaze slowly turned toward the window. That was the place where we could talk for hours. I went to sit in my usual spot, but there was no one left across from me to pour me hot tea. A long sigh escaped from my lips. Lisa had barely left, and I already missed her terribly. My eyes turned toward the door, as if I were hoping to see her reappear at any moment. But night fell and she didn't come back. Meanwhile, in the Bing family, Bing, who had divorced me, was becoming more and more ruthless. Last time, While getting rid of Jibaoda, he had even tried to drug her, and this time there was no one to help him. The police arrived on the spot and took Jibaoda away. Normally, given his status, he should have received a light sentence, but after this incident, several of his old, dirty deeds resurfaced. Furthermore, Bingbing showed absolutely no mercy. As a result, far from a lenient sentence, he was going to face a much harsher punishment upon going back home. He didn't have the slightest hope that anyone would be waiting for him. There was no hot meal on the table. Even though it had become a daily occurrence, he still couldn't accept it. Finally hearing some noise, his grandmother came out and made him some noodles. The next morning, the mailman handed him an invitation. Reading it, he discovered that the lady of the Yi family was cured and had returned. The next day, the family was therefore throwing her a welcome party. What a formality. And because of their connection, he had to go. Thinking about it, he almost told me to prepare a gift, realizing that we were now divorced. So he asked the nanny to prepare the gifts and pushed over himself to the mansion of the Li family. The mansion of the Li family, it was brightly lit, people were partying. That's when Lisa's gaze landed for the first time on Bingbing. If Bingbing was a regal beauty cold as ice, then Lisa was gentle, warm, and infinitely graceful. Her elegance was so natural that several guys were left both breathing when hearing her say hello. After giving his gift, Bingbing went into a corner and started looking out the window. Meanwhile, Lisa looked at her several times. When people saw that Lisa was staring out of curiosity, they introduced them to each other. That's when Lisa realized that this was the woman who had been married and whose ex-husband loved her deeply, right, but who had not yet been found. As soon as she heard about the ex-husband, a face immediately appeared in her mind, right? So she couldn't hold back and asked what her ex-husband's name was. Someone answered, I think it was Ye Chun. Lisa no longer had any interest in listening to the rest. Thinking of me, she understood that this might be the reason for which he absolutely didn't want to come back. After dinner, the old master of the family summoned Lisa to his office. He asked her a few formal questions, then told her a few funny anecdotes about the small town. After listening to everything, Lisa suddenly said, Grandpa, I've fallen in love with someone. The old master had just taken a sip of tea, which he instantly spat out. What? My granddaughter, the one who always keeps her distance from guys, has fallen in love with someone. Yes, Lisa replied with a slight smile. There's just one tiny problem. His identity is a bit peculiar. The old man put down his cup. Who is it? She whispered. It's Bingbing's ex-husband. Lisa expected the old man to explode with anger, but he just waved his hand and said, so what? He said. He's just an ex-husband. Since you like him, why would that be a problem for me? Then he added in a serious tone. Just remember one thing, if he and Bingbing split up, and the mistake was 99% on Bingbing. Don't be foolish. Don't make the same mistakes as that girl, and don't hurt him. Lisa's face lit up with joy. Does that mean you agree? Yeah, he chuckled while pouring himself tea. Yeah, but even if I accept it, that boy also has to love you back. That's what's important, yeah. After staying up late into the night, Lisa came out of the office, entered her bedroom, and grabbed a sheet of paper. Pen in hand, she thought for a long time. And finally, she wrote down a few words filled with concern. The moment I received the new letter from Lisa, it started again to rain on Wuyang. I lifted the window, touched with a small wooden stick. A fine, light rain was falling on the path, paved with blue stones, and a fresh scent drifted through the air. So, sitting near the window, I was reading Lisa's letter. My heart felt really heavy. It had been almost 3 months since I left. During these 3 months, besides working in my tailor shop, I would go sit in her tea house just to be able to read the letters she sent. It's thanks to these letters that, even though I'm not in Berlin, I can get an idea of the situation over there. For example, Jibaoda, who had gone to Berlin with Bingbing, not only couldn't work at the TV station, but he ended up straight in prison. Another example, a guy from a rich family fell under the spell of Bingbing, but before he could bravely confess his feelings to her, his family locked him up in the southern district. My marriage with Bingbing was in everyone's eyes a perfect match. The people in Berlin also knew a bit about us. That's why, when they saw that Bingbing wasn't with me but had brought Jibaoda along, everyone started asking questions. After all, who abandons their married life to leave with another man? After a quick investigation, everyone discovered that we had divorced. And when her actions and her way of talking over there became known, people started to have a less favorable opinion of Bingbing's character. In the last part of the letter, Lisa reminded me of another thing. Bingbing still hasn't given up. She keeps sending people to find you. But as for me, I vanished like sand at the bottom of the ocean. Finding me, I folded the letter and looked out the window. Today it had been almost a year since I arrived in Wuyang. During this year, I also saved up a bit of money. Bingbing won't find me anytime soon. But if she doesn't give up, she will eventually get here one day, which means that I shouldn't stay here any longer. Meanwhile, Bingbing was opening a new letter on which it was written once again, untraceable. She frowned, crumpled the letter, and threw it away. It has been 1 year, a whole entire year, and yet she still hadn't managed to find me. She panicked at first, then got angry. And in the end, she was left with nothing but helplessness, just like today. In the beginning, when she was taking care of Jibaoda, she gave people a reason, a dying wish of a deceased friend. She said that Jibauda meant nothing to her. The first time she rescued him, the second time too, always in the name of that friend's wish. But the truth is that I didn't trust her at all. That's why I had secretly applied for a forced divorce. I'm soft-hearted, but in this matter I lost. I've always been confused. The more she thought about it, the more frustrated she became. Finally, she took a deep breath, grabbed her phone and gave an order. Tell them to keep looking for him. Find him at all costs. She had no idea that her situation meant absolutely nothing to me. Her anxiety was not my priority. I was just happy to see the girl standing in front of me. How did you come back? I asked, sighing slightly. 10 minutes. Later, Lisa opened the door and walked in with her luggage. Looking at me, there was a soft warmth in her eyes. I came to see someone, she said. I'm not a child who understands nothing about love. 5 years of marriage are enough to understand what the other person is trying to say, but after a failed marriage, I didn't have the energy to start a new relationship. I wanted to change the subject, but Lisa grabbed my hand, and her eyes were filled with absolute seriousness. This time, Ye Chen, feelings won't be hidden anymore. I don't want to. From the day I saw you for the first time, I never looked at anyone else again. This past year spent by your side has only strengthened what I feel deep down in my heart. I know what Bing Bing did to you, but I'm nothing like her. I will never hurt you. Just give me a chance to love you. These words were so clear that my cheeks turned burning hot. After a long moment, I raised my head to look at her. You also know that my last relationship was a failure. I don't even know if I'm capable of accepting a new story. If you really want to win me over, it's going to take a lot of time, and the result might not be what you hope for. No, Lisa smiled. No problem, I can wait. She hugged me tightly. I stayed frozen for a second. Then I gently hugged her back. From that day on, life was no longer the same. And the day we officially became a couple, that very same day, I started preparing to return to Berlin. As soon as I got together with Lisa, I understood that I'd have to go back sooner or later, and that sooner or later I'd have to face Bing Bing. At first, Lisa didn't want me to go, but I know that my identity can't be hidden. I can run away for a few days, but not forever. That's why I took the train to Berlin. Lisa's family had organized another big party. This time, the hostess was Lisa and her fiancé Ye Chen. I already knew that Lisa had never taken a liking to any man. The guys trying to hit on her were as numerous as carps in the river, but not a single one had managed to win her heart. So I was a bit curious about her fiancé, but that curiosity turned into a deep resentment and anger when she saw me. The wine glass she was holding in her hand fell to the floor on stage. She was staring at me. She had been looking for me for 2 years. 2 years during which she had thought only of me. She had searched the entire country but hadn't found me. But in the end, I had become Lisa's fiancé. It was this realization that reignited the fire inside her. She took a step forward, but Lisa stepped right in front of me. Yeah, do you have a problem with my fiancé? No, she screamed. Yeah, what fiancé? Oh, he is my husband. Hearing that, everyone remembered our past relationship. Yeah, the only difference was that this time people were gossiping about a girl named Bing Bing. Seeing the expression on her face, I suddenly felt a strange pain in my heart. In my past life, I had waited 5 long years before. She finally remembered me and took me away to Berlin. Seeing these 2 young women arguing on stage, I could no longer contain my anger. I stepped forward and gave Bing Bing a resounding slap. The scene was exactly the same as before. People were pointing fingers at me, and Bing Bing herself was looking at me with an icy face. But she didn't even try to stop me. I left. Bing Bing, have you lost your mind or what? We divorced a long time ago. So if you want to find yourself, then he better be single. Hearing that, her face turned pale. She was looking at me as if she couldn't believe that the man who had loved her so much could say such things to her today. Furious, Lisa raised her hand to call the guards, but I stopped her. Right, let me talk to her, just one-on-one. I had left so text hurriedly, a few words that I had kept deep down in my heart. It was time to say them clearly, right? We sat down face to face in the garden. My eyes were still just as distant and cold as before. The way she looked at me, I could see it clearly now. She seemed more broken than before. Yeah, but now no matter how sad she was, it didn't affect me at all. I said, do you know why? I wanted to divorce you, Bing Bing. The day you saved Jibauda, on that day, our relationship cracked. There are 1,000 ways to repay a debt, but you always put my future on the line instead of yours. If Jibauda had the slightest problem, you could have sent someone else, doctors, the police, a rescue team. Anyone else was more professional than you. But why did you always go yourself? Your love for him was greater than yours for me. No, you know what people say. Everyone thinks he is your husband. No, it's so ridiculous. On that day, if you had truly loved me, you would have recognized the man lying in the bed. No, it wasn't me. I didn't even expect that. A single groan from Jibauda would make you remember everything. No, right, if you really cared, you would have sent someone to investigate it yourself, instead of asking me the question, so casually before forgetting everything. And that earthquake and the train incident, you instinctively abandoned me to save him. So if that isn't love, what is it? Responsibility doesn't lie. Everything you did wasn't out of responsibility. It was out of feelings for him. Maybe I was venting the pain of 2 lifetimes all at once. Tears just wouldn't stop flowing maybe. Bing Bing's face was completely consumed by pain. She stepped forward, wanting to wipe away my tears, but I stepped back, Because of my tears, I couldn't even see her face anymore, distinctly. But I still pronounced every single word clearly. Bing Bing, if it were possible. I wish I had never met you in this lifetime. Hearing my words, it was as if she had taken a straight punch to the heart. Her fingers turned white, gripping the railing. For the very first time, I saw sheer panic in her cold eyes. She said, Yachin, listen to me. I swear I never had any feelings for Jibaoda. Yes, I was good to him, but solely out of a sense of responsibility. Please let me explain. But I had zero patience left. I turned around and walked away. She ran after me, but suddenly another figure quickly stepped in and gave a resounding slap to Bing Bing. Get lost. It was Lisa. She was absolutely furious. She knew some things, but not to this extent. She never could have imagined it. Just thinking about it, she was terrified to see just how much she must have suffered during those 5 years of marriage. She stepped forward to strike her again, but I grabbed her by the shoulder. That's enough, Lisa. Grandpa is waiting for us. I didn't cast a second glance at Bing Bing, who had fallen to the ground. Taking Lisa's hand, I headed toward the hall. Her palm was warm, and that warmth melted the last remaining coldness in my heart. Behind us, footsteps. Not just footsteps, but even that familiar voice. Yachin, listen to me, please. No, I didn't even turn around, no. Some things were doomed from the very start, right? And some words, no matter how much you repeat them, they remain in vain. Today, the toxic chapter of our two lives has finally and definitely closed.